Hey everybody. It's Christmas Eve, and Christmas Eve morning, I'm making this video. I guess, I don't know, just to release, get it out. I have so much built up inside, and I guess part of me too, wants to bring awareness to this monster of that I never knew existed. It's a personality disorder that my wife has. It's it's called narcissistic personality disorder. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of that term narcissistic, because everyone thinks that, they just have this image of somebody who looks in the mirror and all that, and is all worried about what they look like, and that's really, not a very small portion of what the disorder is. I've been with, my wife for 23 years in total. That's, dating, and we were high school sweethearts. And not until the last 6 months, did I identify what was going on. And I started researching it, and one day, this is in June, I guess, my wife would, and we are going through a divorce, or starting the process, but it's really convoluted. We have 4 kids, so it's just been, in and out, and living situation, and, but, she'd always be a big fighter, but, before the kids got older, I'd get over it real quick. Didn't really let much bother me. I'd think in the back of my head, like, she's really wrong here. She would never give, she would just never gives. But I never really thought too much of it. I used to end the fights, and she has these massive, explosions, and I never really liked them at all. But, they really started bothering me when my kids were all, my oldest son was old enough to realize what was going on. And the one thing about, this is the fucked up thing about narcissism, is that no one, unless you're educated prior to being a victim, which is probably rare, that's why I want to bring awareness to this, it takes you a long time to figure out what's going on. And one of the major things with a narcissist is you can't let them know your vulnerabilities, because once you know their vulnerabilities, they're going to attack them like a shark attacks a dead fish. They want to hurt you. They get, it gives them, it's called narcissistic supply. It's unreal. Like your weakest things, that's what they go after. And that's been happening to me for a long time. And then you go to them and you say how hurt you are, thinking they would have some sympathy. And the other major characteristic, and probably the toughest thing, one of the toughest parts of it, is they have zero empathy. They do not care that they hurt you, and they will keep hurting you and hurting you and hurting you, and for no reason really. Now I'm not perfect, and I've made mistakes, but I've never done anything to intentionally hurt my wife, right? And I never want to fight, but, and I'm gonna jump all over here. This is my first video. I don't know if I'll board or not, but I'm hurting today. I've been hurting for a long time, but it's December 24th. Me, like I said, our relationship has been really rocky, really toxic. It's been a nightmare. It's not something I never thought could happen. But she's been bashing me pretty hard. I don't have a job right now. And she just degrades me for the kids already. I'm really beat up, and some people think I'm feeling sorry for myself, and I'm manic, and I'm crying for help. But it's not, I'm crying for help, but it's just so hard to fucking, reason with. It's unbelievable that this is this big of an elephant, so, I think beginning of December, we were fighting, and, I was just like, listen, like, can we please get through the holidays with no fighting? Just hold off, just stop being toxic, let's just both be adults, do what's best for these kids, and it's really important to me that we have a good Christmas, and honestly, I can't take it anymore. I can't feel like this piece of shit in front of the kids that you've made me out to feel like, and knowing that the vulnerabilities, you still do these things thinking that they're going to get it. Well, what's Christmas? She'll understand. She'll stop. Well, after I said that, she just put the foot on the gas, and it's just been ruthless. I mean, it's just unbelievable. And the part about narcissism too is most of the time, the spouse or someone who's real close, there's one person that's really getting the abuse of this narcissism, but everyone else in the world gets a totally different person, pretty much a person that, that nobody could ever see this other side of them, so they mask it well, and no one will believe you what you're going through. So they just look at you're nuts. So the whole thing is so you're just on your own, and so the first thing she did was, my phone was broken, and she said one day, she's like, hey, you can have my old phone. And I was like, cool, thanks. And she's like, you can back it up. And it was a real short conversation. I didn't think anything of it. It was an old phone, whatever. The phone sat there for a day. I saw it there, and I was like, I'm gonna go get it switched over. I didn't even think of it. Anything of it, like, she gave it to me, whatever. I went to my car because my phone only worked on Bluetooth to go get it activated, and it took a while, and I actually had to meet someone, so I couldn't fully activate it. Threw the phone on my seat and forgot it was there. I think it ended up on the back seat of my floor. 24 hours later, after my kid's Christmas program, like 10 o'clock at night, and she goes home and realizes that phone is gone. And I'm getting these calls from my kids, like, you stole mom's phone, bring it back, and all this attacking me about this phone. And I'm like, and then I get this one from my son. He's like, something about, man, you're a real fuck off. I can't even trust you. And I was like, you know what? Like, I didn't steal her phone, and I'm not perfect. But something I just don't, I'm against my beliefs or anything I do is, I think it's one of the, biggest, one of the most bad things someone can do is steal. I mean, there's really never an excuse to steal something. It shows your character is dishonest. It shows that you're sneaky. It shows that you're capable of, just not caring about others. You're capable of, and you're capable of a lot more, and someone who steals is pretty much always going to steal or has that capability. And that's just one thing that I just don't, agree with. I mean, people, lying, it's a lie too, and lying's a bad thing too, but, everyone lies every once in a while, and I don't think you get, if someone, unless they're like a serial liar and really lie, but I mean, that doesn't just put this tarnish on your character. I mean, if someone steals something one time, and I don't want my kids thinking that. So I called my wife. I said, listen, I was like, you need to tell my kids I didn't steal that fucking phone, because I did it. And she's like, yeah, you did. I'm like, Jen, this is humiliating to me. So I pretty much told her I didn't feel even comfortable being around my kids until she told them. So I was gone for 3 days, thinking that she would finally, it's Christmas time. No, she didn't. I was gone for 3 days. I'm sad. I'm alone. Come home, and it's last Friday. She wouldn't. Want to see my boys, and she wouldn't even let me know where they're at. And just was fucking with me the whole night. So I spent the Friday night before Christmas alone. Where my boys, my kids were really not doing anything, just to fuck with me. So I spent that night alone. the next morning, I was supposed to take my son to a basketball game, and it was like 6 in the morning, and she, starts saying that I left the garage door open, and started just making excuse after excuse, just a reason to get fucking pissed at me so she could say I couldn't take my son to the basketball game. It was a toxic scene. It was devastating for me. I was looking forward to that hour drive with my son, quality son, who I haven't seen in a while, to take the basketball game. She didn't let me. I'm coached the team, or I'm one of the assistant coaches. So she ends up taking him. I was locked out of my house throughout this until she left, so I had to go in, get ready. I was 20 minutes late for the game. After the game, thinking she let up. Still, I mean, you're always thinking they're going to let up, and they just never do. We go to the locker room, and after we're done, my son walks out, and within a minute, I walk out, and he vanished like a fucking rabbit in a magician's hat. I mean, he was gone. So she must have waited for him, grabbed him, and took him just so I couldn't drive home. I was so upset. Get home, thinking that she was going to home. No. She says, I'm staying in Hanover, and I'm staying out of town, away from you because of your behavior this morning. Now, something else happened where I got just popped in my head, and I really thought I was in pain, and I guess I was a little dramatic, but I wasn't acting. I mean, the whole situation, and she thought I was acting, and and my head was really hurting. I never had this happen before, and I was worried it was stress, and so I didn't see him all day. And that morning he was holding on to me, said he wanted to go with me, told her stop. She doesn't care about anybody but herself, so she doesn't care. And one thing about narcissists is their reality is distorted. So in her mind, she doesn't realize that this is also, a bad, toxic scene for the kids. I have dealt with this hundreds of times over the years, and I fear them. I fear them all the time, and they happen to get worse and worse and worse. And, it was unbelievable. So, then she just would not give with this me stealing the phone. The next blow up was a few days later, saying I stole her phone and get the fuck out, blah, blah, blah. She forces me out, rips the kids away from watching a football game, acting like she's taking them out of the house like I'm this monster. And then she has the audacity. I don't have a job. We have money in a mutual fund account that, is both our money. Most of it's money I saved. She won't even sign off on it to allow me to have some funds to live, let alone, and then I begged her so I could be involved in kids' Christmas. She would not sign off on it. Then says to the kids that she's the one who paid for all their Christmas presents, and I didn't get shit for them. Right? I mean, it's unbelievable. And I rarely defend myself because I don't know what the right thing to do is, because I don't want to confuse them, because it's a he said, she said between, me and their mom, and I don't want to confuse them, and it just sucks, So, I was so upset about that, unbelievably upset. She just doesn't care, my kids, and then I cried for help from my brother-in-law. He doesn't want anything to deal with it. Their parents totally turn on me. I can't see my boys. I ended up approaching her aunt that night, asking her where they were, because she was the last person that had them. And then we, it was an argument, but we were, it was kind of letting her know how upset I was. And she just, it's funny because when you hear someone talk and they sound, they're just manipulated by your wife because they're saying the same exact stuff in the same exact way. It's you're like, man, I'm gonna get nowhere, and you just look like a fucking fool for even saying anything. I mean, I just had to get a new divorce attorney. I liked my divorce attorney, but third or fourth time I talked to her, she was talking to me like my wife, saying the stuff my wife comes out of my wife's mouth, who she never even talked to my wife. She talked to my wife's attorney, and my wife's attorney, manipulated my attorney through my wife. I was just like, man, this is unreal, and I ended up getting a new attorney, which ended up being a good thing anyway, because this attorney knows a lot more about narcissism and the fucking wrath of it. She spit me up and chewed me out for years. I've cried to her, I've begged her to stop,
You know, it's been awful. You know, one thing that, I've always liked to party a little bit, and I guess you should say I've had a little substance abuse problem, but it's not a good thing. I'm not this like junkie, but, up until I was like 35, if I did party, it was always, just to have fun, or be social or whatever, I never really did it to fucking cope, and 3 years ago, I was put in a situation where, it's a whole other story, but, I hate to blame it on my wife because it's not her fault, but if it wasn't for the situation and how bad she made me feel and kicked me out of the house that night, I never would have been in his shoes. But I did some of that at night, and it just took the pain away. And, that's how I started coping, and wish I never would have, because she ended up catching me one time, and it just gave her an excuse for everything, all her behavior, and everything's a drug problem now, and there's nothing I can do about that, and so she's painted me as this drug addict, and that's the problem with everything, and honestly, I don't want to be in denial here, but I know that the problems drugs have caused, but no one really believed me with this, but I think I really don't think the drugs caused any of our major issues. Like, meaning, like, if I didn't do the drugs, I'd be still talking about the same stuff she's doing to me. If it wasn't that, it'd be something else, And honestly, I went to her at one point, when I started getting a little worried that I had a problem, for her support, thinking, again, being fucking naive, like, you just think they'll care, and you don't realize until you know all the information that they don't give a shit about you. It's all about them, even, for 20 fucking years, So I went to her, told her about this, and this was before I got caught the one time. And she pretty much just, I would have never thought, but she was like, oh yeah, she pretty much, I don't have proof of this, but she knew after that. She didn't help at all, didn't really watch out for me or force me to go to rehab or anything like that. And she even asked people she did ask some, this one doctor in the area who, if anybody, is somebody who I'd really want her to ask advice for, because I know this person is educated on it, doesn't think that, drug use is bad and it is bad decisions, but a lot of times it's not a moral thing, it doesn't make you a bad person, you get stuck in this fucking hole and it just sucks, and it sucks. You want out, and, but this doctor gave her a lot of good advice, and my wife told me what she said, and I was like, that's what I want someone to tell you, and well, she actually used that, or ignored every part of it, one thing that lady said is he'll never be able to do it on his own, and she just sat back, and she just sits back, and she'll act like she doesn't know I'm doing it, but she knows, like, almost wanting me just to keep getting deeper and deeper in a hole, which I've been good. I don't have a job, so I don't have money, and I just know I can't do it, because if she catches me anyway, I'm fucking screwed. Now, I have slipped up here and there, but that's that, but it's Christmas Eve, and I still begged her to please tell the truth, and I get to email her that to stay the fuck away, I'm delusional. They say you're delusional, and you're in this cycle of conversation. You just can't believe they're saying these things, and they tell you things that they're doing, that you're doing. It's just a mind fuck. It is the fucking worst thing possible. I could ever imagine that this elephant of a personality disorder was out there. And I remember the first time my therapist said to me, she goes, it's the most unfair thing in the world, and unfortunately there's nothing you can do about it. You'll never be able to reason with it, and they will never give. So just, and there are certain techniques you're supposed to do and this and that, but it's hard to do it. I mean, it is just this thing is, and no one understands it unless you're in it. I mean, and you're alone, and I'm just devastated by it. I mean, there are some days, she has fucked me. I mean, bad. I mean, my job, every aspect of my life. Another thing about narcissists is if they know you had figured them out, you're fucking doomed, So, once I figured her out, that's when she just was like, I'm done with him, and it just got bad. And my mom, who only treated her like a daughter, used to love her, figured it out, mainly because I educated my mom on it. She listened, and she saw it in her and saw how bad she was getting, and my mom started approaching her about it. Well, she has literally tortured my mom. It's unbelievable. I mean, the nastiness, and I mean, if I just telling her she's a piece of shit mother who only has one child and she failed raising her kid and blah blah blah, and and then there's been some times when my mom's reacted. I mean, how anyone would be so furious, and then she'll go say that my mom said this and leave out all the details of just to make her look good and my mom sound horrible. She does it to me too. It's sick. I mean, she'll even tell me stories that only me and her know, and she'll leave out the most crucial details, making me feel like I'm the one at fault. And she's brilliant at it. They're brilliant at their game, but they never give. So, I do have my wife by the balls with something here. She, has taken these illegal videos on me. When I say illegal, I mean she'll not tell me she's recording me, and I've warned her before it's a felony when you do that. You cannot record anyone unless they know you're doing it. And if the video shows that you don't, and you say stop recording and they don't, and it's a felony, and the penalties are pretty harsh for it. I did go to the police a few months ago because my wife has no consequences. None. She's never had any consequences, and she just keeps getting away with thing after thing after thing, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I was pretty sure she had these videos, and I went to the police, and the police officer said to me, he said, "Are you sure you want to do this? I mean, these are harsh penalties. You'll probably lose your job or career, blah, blah." I said, no. I didn't know they were that harsh, so no. So I didn't. Well, when I got her phone, I wouldn't even thought of really digging through it like I did, but when it was just awkward how the whole situation, it made me suspicious there was something there she was hiding as well. But the one thing I found is all these videos on me, and I was like, and there was more than I ever thought, a lot more where she held the camera where I never saw it, never knew it, just in this vulnerable state. So, I said to her, listen, if you're not going to tell my kids the truth, I'm going to the cops with these videos, and you're going to get a felony, and you're going to lose your career. And my wife's all about her career. She's a realtor, she loves it, it's all she knows. And I mean, I have him here. I could easily go there right now, which I'm probably going to do. Not today, but after Christmas. If she doesn't somehow, and she won't. I mean, she just okay, go ahead. I'm not, she will not, and I don't know, that's how they can be stupid sometimes. They will never take accountability or own up to nothing. And my therapist said, don't even try. I mean, they'll lie on their oath. I mean, they'll lie on the Bible. They don't give a shit, and it's wild and how they won't give. I mean, they never say sorry. They'll never do it. It's unbelievable. That's one thing I've noticed. And I for years, it was always in the back of my mind, but I never really paid too much attention to it. But boy, it's unreal. I mean, and having 4 kids with this person, is scary because I have to deal with it the rest of my fucking life, and, sometimes, and the other thing is when it's so funny, and now that I know so much and you research it, and a lot of tactics of narcissists are the same. I mean, there's been research done, so there's very similar. So when you read all these tactics, I'm like, holy shit, it to a T is what I've dealt with, and I mean, it's a scary thing, man. It's a scary thing. And I just dread having to deal with it all my life. I just, but it's funny because like they will, if you're doing too good, like when you're in an argument and you're mad at you, want to just like write them an email and just say all this stuff, or you get worked up, you're trying to get through to them. Like you're trying to like, yo, this is fuck. You're not even being in reality. And you think you're going to get through to them, and you never do. But they actually love that. They love getting you worked up, and they love that confrontation. It's called narcissistic supply, and it's sick. But then when you're doing too good, or if they think something's going to bother you and it doesn't, they like if I'm doing pretty good for 48 hours, she can't fucking stand it. She'll hit me hard, and it gets me every time. And she'll fuck with me, and it'll fuck with me for a couple days. Sometimes she'll get me real good, and she'll fuck with me, and then she'll just stop. And when she stops, that's when I go off, and I'm fucking livid for a couple of days, and she just sits back and watches me, and makes me look like a fucking crazy person, But it's sick when I'm doing too good. You just know she's coming in for the kill. It's like she comes in for the kill like a fucking shark on a deadly fish, but to everyone else, she's like this innocent dolphin who could never do that, And here I am, the day before Christmas, and she tells me I can't see my kids. Like I'm their dad. I've never been to jail. I'm coach. I'm not this like deadbeat dad that she has custody of either. It's not even. It's unfucking believable. But she has control, And some people think like, why do you even let her do it? Well, I'm no like pussy, and I'm not, but she has control. She has control by her tactic pawning of the kids. So she knows that it upsets me, and it will shut me up every time. The crazier she gets on me in front of the kids. And if I've tried to stick up for myself and really overpower with, the argument. And every time I do that, she'll just go get crazier, and that argument get worse and worse until I fold. Like I can't do it. So I just don't have any power. So she's got complete control over me because I hate my kids seeing that stuff, which they do anyway. And, and they believe her, most of the time, she's her mother. And, another thing about it, they're master manipulators. So they'll manipulate you and you don't even know it and make you believe them. And so my kids have this, they've heard every bad thing in the book, true or not true. Stuff is made up. They have this image of me, and one thing, now they have a thief, and I don't, they're young. My 6-year-old is a total, disrespects me, has no respect for me at all, it's painful, and that, and still her family can sit there after me and be okay with it and blame it on me and just say I'm blaming her and just attacking her and that's not the case. I just want this shit to fucking stop. But it's never going to. I gotta suck it up and figure out how to deal with it. This divorce, she has, I went to file a divorce like 6 months ago, and today it's still not filed, and I'm nowhere further, and I can't even tell you how I got here and not be any further than I am. And if I think about it, she's just been able to creep me in and sneak me in and suck me in and spit me out and fuck with me this whole 6 months by doing it that way. But I am now not doing it. She has just, this is hell. This is fucking hell. She's sneaky. She's doing all, she's deleting my text message and my phone to delete evidence. She does all kinds of sneaky, calculated shit. That's another thing. I never realized, these episodes I thought she had where she would get crazy, I thought a lot of times were just reactions and she had an anger management problem. No, she had this shit fucking planned, and that's a scary thing too. Someone who's planning to plot to fuck with you, is this pure evil. And they're pathological liars. So, you find out all these things about your spouse you loved and that you've been hosed for so long. Now looking back, before the kids were old enough to relate these episodes, we were happy. I loved her, and I begged her to stop doing it, and she just kept doing this to my kids. Like I couldn't believe it. She saw how much pain I was in, and for years just kept doing it constantly, weekly. I'm crying, bawling my eyes out, asking her to stop, and she just kept going. And it's a fucking juggernaut, a fucking nightmare, mixing a pot that, if I can, one guy out there is with a girl that they just first started dating, and you see any of this shit, because you don't pick up on it right away, but if you educate yourself, you can figure it out quicker than 20 fucking years, I'm 40 years old now, 4 kids, I'm, going, it just fucking blows. And on top of that, I definitely have to divorce her. There's research back, every study done since, I think they go back to 1933, there's not one narcissist who they studied that has ever changed for the better. Because they don't think they have a problem, or they denial, or they like having the problem, they think it's great that they're like that. So no one ever fixes themselves, but they never change. So there's nothing that you will research that will say that you can have a successful relationship with a narcissist. So you got to get the fuck out right away. And, so, but I actually, the funny thing is the divorce really, I can't, it would because of narcissism, but that's not why I initially filed. So it's like, it's just crazy. But anyway, I loved her, and I try to make it work with her. It's heartbreaking for me that our kids are gonna have a split home, and that's just something I never wanted to. I'm against it, and that's on top of all this other shit. I gotta deal with that, and the sadness of my kids and not seeing my kids every day. Again, I'm not trying to do a pity party here, but it fucking sucks, man. Who fucking deserves this shit? This is I must have done fucking some evil shit that did this, but I gotta figure it out soon, man, because I am fucking breaking. I wouldn't, ever thought of suicide, and I would never do it. I especially wouldn't do it because it would give her what she wants. She wants me to do that, and I would never give her that joy, but honestly, I don't fear dying anymore. My life has been fucking hell. And I can tell you, I did not, so I don't worry about that any longer. So, I think that's about it for now. I don't know if I'll post this or not, but, if you don't know about narcissism and you want to know more, there's so much to know on the internet. And there's so many different aspects of it, and if you're reading it and you're going through it, I would look into it more and try to get the fuck out, because that, and I think majority of it's women who are the victims, because, it's men who are narcissists, but women, they're about, I think, 30% of them. But man, it sucks, dude. You do not want to be in it. You just don't. It's not worth it. They will make your life a living hell, and that's there's no way they won't. That's how they live. That's how they get they're insecure real deep down for some reason, and they need that to build them back up. And it's a disorder. Oh man, it's crazy. So I don't know what's gonna happen today. I'm even afraid even to be at home with my kids, even if I was there, because I'm just so sad. I'm just it's almost like I'm sad around my kids because I feel so bad for them. I feel like it's just I worry that, my wife has told them she was gonna find them a new dad right in front of me. So it's is she really, she would do that and not, they have zero empathy. It doesn't matter what it is. So that won't bother her at all. Just what happened is she brought this dude in, and I just get kicked the fuck out the door just like that. I would do everything in my power to not let that happen. That would be a death blow, but that's how far they will go. And anyway, I don't know if I can post this, if I have any comments or anyone responds to it. I'd appreciate it. You know, I don't do videos like this that much, ever really. But I mean, it's kind of helped talking it out here, you know. But if I can get through to anyone, or anyone knows more, or has any questions, or wants to tell me something, you know, feel free to text me, or, you know, respond to this video. I guess that's how it works on YouTube. Zach Kuntz, thanks.